Hello, I wanted to add a quick pre-roll to let you know about a one-off free workshop I'm running on Wednesday the 23rd of April at 1 p.m. BST. It's called Your First 100 Subscribers, How to Grow Your Email List This Week, even if you are starting from scratch, feel tech challenged, or have a list already. This free training is for you. You will walk away knowing how to grow your coaching audience using 3 powerful email funnels to attract aligned clients with honesty and not hype. I would love to see you there. I haven't held a free workshop this year, so I'm incredibly excited. You will find the link to sign up to your first 100 subscribers workshop in the show notes, and look forward to seeing you. Hello and welcome to Women in the Coaching Arena podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Jo Lott, a business mentor and ICF-accredited coach, and I help coaches to build brilliant businesses. I know that when you prepare to enter the arena, there is fear, self-doubt, comparison, anxiety, uncertainty. You can tend to armor up and protect yourself from vulnerability. In this podcast, I'll be sharing honest, not hype, practical and emotional tools to support you to make the difference that you're here for. Dare greatly, you belong in this arena. Hello, welcome to episode 113 of Women in the Coaching Arena. I am so glad you are here. Today I have a wonderful guest called Vicki Knights for you. Vicki is a brand photographer, positive psychology practitioner and visibility strategist. And she's amazing. She's in my mastermind and she has taken all of my branding photos and so many of my clients too. An absolute genius. So cannot wait to share her wisdom with you today. After 16 or so years in business, she has so much to share with us about speaking up, getting clear on our message, being confident enough to share it regularly. So I know you'll gain so much from this conversation. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Vicki. I am so excited to have you on the podcast. I haven't had many guests and you have been on my list for ages. So I'm really, really glad you're here. So if you haven't met Vicki before, she is a personal branding photographer, visibility coach and positive psychology practitioner. She lives very near me in Surrey. She has taken all of my photos, which are beautiful, and I'm getting more done soon. And she's photographed 1,000+ business owners now. So I cannot even imagine. Vicki, welcome. Do share a bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much, Jo. I'm very excited to chat to you today. So next, I think you explained it really well. I am a brand photographer, positive psychology practitioner and visibility strategist. But all of those things come together really neatly because I help people to be seen in their businesses and show up with joyful confidence. So kind of that's my umbrella mission.
Yes, totally. And I love that because something powerful you say is the goal isn't to get rid of fear, it's to work with it. So tell us more about how you came to that and what that means to you.
I think so many of us are put off doing things because we're just scared of it. I know I've been like that in my business where things just feel really scary. And it's easy to look at someone else and think, well, it's all right for them doing that TED talk or writing that book or running that massive event because they're obviously just not as fearful as me. But what I've learned, I've been in business a long time now, like over 16 years, which is crazy. And working with all these incredible business owners, photographing them and coaching. And I've learned that everyone has those fears. So the women that I have on my podcast, often they've done TED Talks, they do keynote speeches, and you think, oh, they must be fine. They all have the same fears that everyone else does. They've just learned to work with them. So I don't know if you've read Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic, and I might butcher the way that she explains this, but she talks about fear as being a passenger in our car, right? So imagine your family's in the car and it gets to be a part of our family. It gets to sit in the back seat. It can be there. It can have a voice, but it doesn't get a vote. So it doesn't get to decide where we're going. It doesn't get to put its hands on the wheel. And I always think about that analogy and think, we all have that inner critic, don't we, in our heads? I call mine Nikki. And, like that toxic friend that's just saying mean things all the time. And so we all have that. And it's just a case of whether we learn to work with her or whether we're letting her run the show. So Nikki is still there, but I've learned to work with her and know that actually she's just trying to protect me. She's just trying to keep me small because she doesn't want me getting hurt. And it's a case of going, actually, I'm good. I can do this. So yeah, my whole thing is it's not about overcoming the fear. It's about working with that fear that we have.
I love it. I don't think I've heard it described so eloquently before. So I love that you've named your inner critic and the driving seat thing. That's just such a powerful way of thinking about it, isn't it? Because it really does feel like much of the time it does get in the driving seat. So, in practical terms, then, what do you feel like helps to, is it because your purpose is bigger than fear, or what really helps to overcome that in the moment?
Yeah, that's something I say quite a lot is make your purpose bigger than your fear. Because what I've seen, and believe me, I've done it too, is when it comes to showing up in our businesses or in life in general, we make it about ourselves, right? So we're immediately like, oh, I don't really like my hair at the moment and I need to lose half a stone and oh, I haven't got anything to wear. And we're just always worried about what other people are going to think about us. And it's all about us. And instead, what I always try and say to my clients is about switching that and making it about the person you're trying to help. So when we think about what our purpose is, because generally none of us start a business because we want to get famous. And if we have, we're probably doing the wrong thing. Much better on Love is Blind or something like that. We start our businesses because we want to make a difference to people and we want to help people, especially your audience of coaches. So therefore, just thinking about who we're trying to help and what we're trying to help them with, when it comes to doing that sort of big, bold visibility thing that we want to do, makes such a difference. So, for example, for me, with my podcast, I was so nervous about starting it, even though I'd had a podcast for 5 years with someone else. Starting one by myself felt terrifying. I don't know if you felt the same way, Joe, when you launched this podcast. And so when I launched it, I got lots of lovely feedback, like you do when you launch it, and people listen, and lots of lovely things were sent to me. So what I did is I set all this up in a folder on my phone. I call it my kindness folder. And it might sound a bit narcissistic, but what I do is if I'm ever having a bit of a wobble or thinking, am I really making any difference with this podcast? Like it's taking a lot of time. With a podcast, you don't get that dopamine hit that you get with like a post or Instagram where you get immediate feedback. You'll put it out to the world and think, has everyone listened to that? If you can see the stats and see the people listening, you're like, really heard anything back? So what I do in those moments when I'm thinking, oh, is this worth it? Or I feel a bit scared to put another one out, I'll just look back at that folder of all the lovely feedback and realize that the difference it's making. And actually there are people out there listening and learning a lot and they're finding it really useful and inspiring. So I think that's a really good thing to do is set up your own little kindness folder. So whenever you have a wobble or maybe you're just dealing with a client that's making you feel not so good, just reminding yourself of all the clients that loved what you were doing is a really powerful thing.
Yeah, it's so good. And I used to have a folder just the same, and I've actually fallen off the wagon with it, but it reminds me to get back on where I used to do exactly the same when I started my business when I was like really nervous. But it would be super powerful to get that out and remind myself now because I really hear you on that podcast and not getting the instant feedback. And actually, I do think that's also the same at the start of your business where you're putting out social posts and you have no audience. Therefore, you aren't getting any likes as well. So I'm sure people will really resonate with that lack of feedback that we can get when we put stuff out there to the world. So if we're thinking about the clarity that you need to be able to convey the confidence and to be able to eloquently share your view, as you so beautifully have done on this podcast, can you talk a bit about how understanding what makes us unique can help our visibility fears and help us overcome those?
Yeah, I think it's so easy, right? Everything is so noisy at the moment, so much noisier than it was when I started my business. And so I'd imagine for anyone starting out, it's so easy to be like a shiny magpie and be like, oh, I need to take that Reels course. No, I need to take that LinkedIn course. And person showing up like this, maybe I need to do that. And it's very easy. Say, for example, you see someone on LinkedIn and maybe they've got like 300 people have liked their post and you're thinking, maybe I need to be more controversial. Maybe I need to wear a hot pink jacket or something, and you start doubting what you're doing. And what happens when you do have that deep clarity about what makes you really special is that comparison won't go away. It's always going to be there because we're human, right? But it quietens. You start thinking, okay, that's great for them because that suits their personality to a T, but that's not me. that's not how I'm going to show up, because I know that doesn't suit my personality and my strengths and my values. So it just means by getting that clarity on what makes you special, is it just makes you stay in your lane and you know what you're good at and you know how you should be showing up so that it feels really good to you, that you stop comparing yourself with everyone else.
Yeah, totally. And so tell me about you. And I think I once heard an example of when you've spoken to a huge group of people and how you calmed your nerves in that moment.
Yeah, so I used to work in advertising, so I was quite used to standing up and presenting in front of lots of people, but I used to always get really nervous. I don't know if you do the same. So to the point, and I totally understand that sort of fight or flight. I would feel like running away, like I could feel my nervous system was just in overdrive. I get this real big feeling of just like, just run, just get out of here. And then, so I ran an event just before lockdown where I felt exactly the same. That was about 100 people. And again, I was backstage just trying to calm myself down, like go, come on, Vicky, just calm down, calm down. And it didn't work. Then, and I don't know where I heard about it. I think it was while I was doing my positive psychology diploma, learned about reframing anxiety into excitement. And so I thought I would test it out last year when I was talking to 100 people. And every time I thought about the talk, rather than saying to myself, like I used to, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I would just say, oh, I'm so excited. I'm really excited about this. I love my presentation. I can't wait to share it. They're going to get so much from it. And even as I walked in that day, a few people came up to me and they were, oh, how are you feeling? Now, past me would have gone, I'm really nervous. But instead, I just went, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited about what I'm going to share. I know you're all going to get so much from it. And that just seemed to tell my brain that I wasn't nervous anymore. And I felt that kind of fizzy, nerves, but it was way more excitement. I felt kind of calm, which is really weird. And another thing I did, I used to always just think to myself, what if I forget what I'm going to say? That was always my fear. Like, I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to forget. And I used to always have like reams of notes with me, like all written out onto cards and stuff. And I didn't want to take any notes. And I kept thinking, well, what is the worst that could happen? So I actually went through that in my mind and thought, well, the worst that could happen is that I don't have my notes and I completely forget what my next point is. And I thought, what would I do? So I just had my notes to the side. They were just there. And I thought, well, worst case, I just go, have a glass of water and I'm just going to get my thoughts together and take a look at my notes for 1 minute and then come back. And what would, it didn't happen, but wouldn't have been the end of the world. In fact, it's probably quite powerful just to have a quick break. Everyone would understand. So I thought, actually, I'm not scared of that anymore. So I then looked into it and thought, is there some science behind this? And the Harvard Business School have done lots of research about it. And apparently, the people that try and calm themselves down before something stressful, like an exam or a talk, it doesn't work. Their nervous system is still in overdrive. They don't feel at all calm. Those people that reframe it and just say, I'm really excited about it, they performed much better under pressure. So there is actually research and science that goes into it, which I love.
Gosh, that's so amazing. And I cannot wait to try this out at my next in-person event because I do all of my work online. But as you know, because you came to the last one, I occasionally, just twice a year, do in-person events. And every single time I want to pretend I'm sick so I don't have to go. And then, yeah, totally. I was like, maybe I can say I have COVID and I don't need to attend tomorrow. Like, yeah, it's exhausting.
You come across so confident though. And I think that's the thing is when I used to talk, people say, we don't seem nervous. I wouldn't necessarily come across as nervous, but inside I was dying, like just feeling horrible. But you came across amazingly at your last event.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I think the same about you. So it's funny, isn't it? I think you would be uber confident under all circumstances. So
No,
it's good.
definitely not.
Yeah, it just shows, doesn't it, that you can't always tell what's going on inside. And I love that about the excitement and really reframing it. And it's amazing. There's research around that as well, because I didn't realize that. So I am going to use all of that when my next in person comes around in June. So thank you. That was genius.
I look forward to you walking around the room just going, I'm so excited. And also I heard on a podcast about the amount of women that start a talk by saying, I'm really nervous. And they say that to the audience. And they were saying how, oh, we shouldn't do that. Men don't generally do that. And I hate to genderize it, but there was this statistic about women and how we start with that. And I think there's something in it, like we don't want to look like we're arrogant or showing off. So we feel like by going, people will like us more or something, but it's just telling our brain that we're really nervous. That's the problem.
That's true. I do think it is that people pleaser tendency that you have that idea as a woman that no one likes a confident woman. They like it when you're slightly nervous, etc. So I do think you've hit the nail on the head there for sure.
Mm.
Certainly for me, I think it's an old pattern that automatically creeps in because I have this in my head. No one likes an overly confident woman. I didn't even realize that until we're actually speaking now, that I have that association
Yeah.
from childhood or something.
And we hear it so often. When I suddenly looked at all the things like, we hear other women, especially pulling up, going, oh, she's got a bit too big for her boots and she's a bit too much. And who does she think she is? And we hear all these things and think, oh, well, I need someone to be saying that about me. So then we have to make ourselves smaller and less confident so that people don't say that about us. And then it comes to showing up in our businesses when we're told, put yourself out there and be bold. And it goes against everything that we've heard in our childhood and through our life. It's not just in childhood. So yeah, there's so many things there that we have to unravel, I think, when it comes to showing up.
Yeah, there are totally. That's probably a core reason of why people really struggle with that in their business, because it is that innate fear that's so inbuilt, isn't it? So, what have you found is helpful? Maybe if you're talking to the coach who's just starting their business, they know they need to post on social media and they just feel physically sick. How can we help that person?
Right, we've all seen that. Well, I'm assuming most people have seen that meme that does the rounds sometimes about comfort zones. And it says, right, here's your comfort zone and here's where the magic happens, right? And it's right over the other side. And I totally disagree with that. And I think there's a lot of advice out there saying, well, you've just got to go live every day and you just need to be posting videos of yourself and posting, every single day or multiple times a day. And so many new coaches go from doing nothing to suddenly they are showing up live, or they're trying to speak on podcasts, or they're speaking on stages. And they might stick with that for, say, 6 months. But then I see so many people do that. And then they never post again because it just felt horrible. Their whole nervous system felt awful. And yeah, it just gave them a vulnerability hangover. So I know that temptation is, yeah, but I just need to grow my business and I need to do something quite big and quite bold. But I'd much rather you run a business for years and years and years that lights you up than something that's, you're not going to be able to, it's not sustainable and you can't keep up with. So my advice would just be, just do something that feels stretchy. So don't stay in your comfort zone. Yeah, I'm just going to post loads of quotes. That feels easy. And it's different for everyone, isn't it? So that stretchy for you might be going and speaking on a stage or pitching yourself to a big podcast. For that new coach starting out, it might be, I've had a branding shoot and I'm just going to post my first photo from there. And that feels really stretchy for them for now. But the fact is, it gets easier. So that thing that feels stretchy at the beginning, suddenly, a month later, you're like, oh, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm posting photos all the time. Now I need to start posting video of myself. So it's just taking that baby step that feels stretchy, but it gets easier.
Yeah, it's such a good one. And I've seen that so many times. The person goes mad, like I'm posting every day. And then they collapse 2 months
Yeah.
later and go, do you know what? I can't do it anymore. So, yeah, it's good that you've called that one out. And small steps are better than huge action sometimes. So, if we're thinking about the benefits of being visible and all the amazing things that can come from it, what do you find has surprised you most about you showing up fully in your business and maybe your clients? Because I know you have a mastermind as well, in seeing them show up. What has been the most amazing parts?
Such a good question. It's so difficult just to say one thing. I'm going to say two things. I may possibly say a third at the end. I think the connections that you get from showing up. When I look at my business, which, like I say, has been like 16 years, and all the amazing things I've got to do and the amazing people I've got to meet, hardly any of those would have happened if I hadn't had the courage to show up. Whether that's in a networking group or whether that's online. So it can be in person or online. I just wouldn't have got those. All the amazing opportunities I've had to speak on people's podcasts like this, or speak on stages, or go to networking events, that wouldn't have happened. I've made so many amazing friends just from showing up. So the connection is such a huge part of it. But I think also what comes from it is the confidence. So if I look now at the fact that I can just post a video online that probably even 3 years ago would have absolutely terrified me. I used to feel this horrible feeling if I was thinking about doing something like that, where it just felt unsafe. Whereas now, I posted one on Friday, just so I was getting ready to go out, didn't even think about it, posted it. And then I was like, oh, I need to check if people have commented and stuff, rather than thinking, oh my God, everyone's stopped and everyone's looking at me. So I think what comes from that is confidence in yourself. And that has a ripple effect through your whole life as well. And I've seen that with so many people I work with. It's like talking about my photography. I think every woman is nervous about getting in front of the camera, right? But once they actually do it, and you've experienced it because you've had a shoot with me, and then you see the photos, it's such a huge confidence boost when you can see yourself through someone else's eyes in a really nice, flattering way, not like a horrible iPhone picture that your friends snapped of you on a night out from a horrible angle. But when you actually see professional photos of yourself that are in beautiful light and a beautiful surroundings, so many of my clients have just said that was such a huge confidence boost for me to see myself like that. So I think that has such a ripple effect through your whole life because you just show up more confidently and more bravely.
You do. It's amazing that you get to see it from that other perspective, like you say, through the lens of your camera. And it's funny the difference we can have between who that person is in the photo and who we feel like inside. Because I remember when I look at my own photos, I feel like you must have done a lot of work on them. I have no idea if you have or if you haven't. But it's funny, isn't it? So share more about maybe that disassociation between that person in the picture and who we really feel like we are inside.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is we can often, and one thing as well with professional photos, which I quite often say to people, is we're so used to seeing a mirror image of ourselves. So even on Zoom now, we see the mirror image unless you've changed it, but automatically it's the mirror image. So we're so used to that. So actually, when we see professional and selfies as well, that's all a mirror image. So we get so used to seeing that sometimes when you see a professional photo, you're like, oh, it kind of doesn't feel like us because our face is flipped from what we're used to seeing. So sometimes I'll be like, it doesn't look like me. And then you show family and friends because that's the version they see of you. And they're like, that totally looks like you. So that sometimes can make you feel a bit sort of an out of body experience. Like, is that actually me? Because none of us have a symmetrical face. So I think unless you're Angelina Jolie or something like that. So it shows us slightly different. And also we're suddenly seeing ourselves, we're used to seeing ourselves, in comfies around the house and like as mom, if you've got children, or just, we're not used to seeing ourselves really polished and looking really good often. I have so many women that say to me, I don't look like the women on your website. Like, do you only photograph like really attractive women or really super confident women? And I'm like, they all said exactly the same thing that you're saying. And it's just because I've helped them to pose in a really good way and that feels really natural. And I've put them in amazing spots and they might have made an effort that day and had their hair and makeup done and they've got nice clothes, but they all say exactly the same thing that you're saying. So it's so easy to look at everyone else, isn't it? And think, yeah, but I don't look like that because we don't day to day, do we?
Yeah, so true. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. It's given me a good perspective on the mirror image,
Yeah.
especially. But if someone is listening and is feeling stuck, they know they need to be more visible, but they just don't know where to begin. What is one small thing that they could do today?
And it's really difficult to give kind of a just blanket advice that work for everyone because everyone's so different. So going back to what we were talking before about the baby steps, I think just think about what it would be that next thing for you. So think about how you're planning on showing up this week. So have you got posts planned? What are you thinking about doing? And think about, is that within your comfort zone? Does it feel like, oh yeah, I could do that in my sleep? Or does it give you that kind of fizzy, slightly nervous, excited feeling? And if it doesn't, what would? So, and I can't just say, and that's why sometimes I'm not a huge fan of like the visibility challenges and that, where they're like, right, post this, do this, because that doesn't work. The whole thing about positive psychology is finding things that work for us and are really aligned to us. So just think about what could be that thing that feels a bit stretchy. So maybe it's that you listen to this podcast and you would love to be a guest, but feels really stretchy to pitch yourself as one. So maybe that's what you do this week. Or maybe it's that you always just share carousel and slides with text on, but you never share a photo of yourself on them. Maybe you put a photo of yourself on there. Maybe you haven't got around to booking that branding shoot because you're thinking, oh, I'm going to lose some weight or I need to grow out my hair. Maybe this is the week you actually just book it and get it booked in the diary. So you've got something to work towards. So yeah, just doing that next thing that makes you feel, stretchy, but will make a really big difference. And I think the thing is so many people wait for the confidence to come. They're waiting for like the confidence fairy to come and sprinkle something over their head. And the confidence never comes before you take the action. It's taking the courageous action that then you go, oh, now I feel really confident about that. And now, my comfort zone has expanded and now I can do something else, something even bigger. So yeah, that would be my advice is just take what's that next stretchy small step they can take.
Yeah, I love that, especially the kind of fizzy feeling that you described there rather than the blanket. Everyone must post today. Right, tomorrow we're doing a video. And I
Yeah.
remember when I did Helen Pritchard's, she's called Helen Tudor now, LinkedIn challenge. I don't know if you've done that or heard of it, but it was brilliant. But I genuinely couldn't do any of the daily steps at the time. It took me 3 months after that challenge to be able to take the first day one's action, which was change your LinkedIn headline. Because I was just completely unregulated at the time and it just felt awful. So I really love that idea about just what's that tiny thing for me rather than me comparing myself and feeling like all these people in this challenge are able to do all these amazing things and I'm useless because I can't.
That's so interesting. And that'll be really inspiring for people to hear because I think it's easy to look at someone like you and think, oh, but she's doing amazing things on LinkedIn. But to know that actually you found that really nerve wracking. You couldn't even change like the header on your LinkedIn because it just felt too much at the time. So I think that's really inspiring for people to think, well, I can start small and then I'll be like Joe one day.
Yeah, now I'm all over it. And I'm amazed by some of my clients because sometimes they'll go, okay, should we just do it while we're on? And I'm like, wow, would you actually do that? Because I remember my experience was so very different to some people's, but I know also for some people just the same as I was and feeling petrified. But
Mm.
there are other people, maybe they procrastinated for so long about it. They've had their 3 months and they're like, yeah, let's share screen. Let's just do it live while I'm on the call with you. So, like you say, it's just for that individual, what's their exact stretch zone today?
Yeah. Yeah, and we all come from a very different base, like you say. Like some people will start their businesses and they might have been presenting to people, in groups for years and years. Other people don't feel confident at all. Just like we're all different when we walk into a room full of people, right? So we're all starting from a different base. And so for people to say you have to do it like this just doesn't work for everyone at all.
No, it doesn't totally. So, anything that I should have asked you that I haven't asked yet that you feel like would be useful to share?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I might be a bit biased saying this as a photographer, but I do think that photos make such a huge difference to the way that you show up. So when we're talking about that new coach into it, and what's the first thing that she could do? And I did sort of say about booking a branding shoot, but it's amazing the amount of new business owners I see, and on their website, they've still got a photo of them in front of their fence that their husband's taken. Because they might be thinking, oh, I've spent money on my website and my branding. I can't afford to get a photographer. No one's going to notice. It'll be fine. I've got this selfie I can use. And actually, it does make such a difference. And quite often with permission, I've used clients before and after, like this is one they were using on their website and this is now. And it's only then when they look at it, they're like, oh, I didn't realize quite what a difference that would make. And I think what happens is if a potential client comes to your website and you're asking them to invest with you, but you haven't invested in having a photo shoot and getting professional photos, it kind of devalues what you're offering. So yeah, I would say when it comes to visibility and showing up, that kind of the first thing you need to do is get those photos because it will make everything just feel so much easier. It also just means that you're putting off opportunities because I've had people sometimes say they've been invited to go on a panel, but they haven't got a photo to send, or they've been invited on a podcast, they don't have a photo. So it will hold you back from putting yourself out for those opportunities if you don't have those photos.
That's such a great one. And like you say, you do not know the difference. You think you can get away with that photo. And I remember mine trying to find like a white plain wall and get my husband to take it on the iPhone. And I kind of thought it was fine. And then you actually get a professional photo and you're like, how did I survive life with that photo? So yeah, it's such a good one. And I love that you do the mini branding photo shoots, because especially if you're starting, you might be thinking, I don't have loads of money to invest. So it's such a great thing, because I had a mini branding photo shoot with you. So essentially, if you're wondering what a mini branding photo shoot is, Vicki would go to a hotel for the day, you get 25 minutes, and then she's got lots of people with 25 minutes. So it's a
Yeah.
great value way of getting photos, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's just a way, because exactly like you're saying, some people can't afford like a full 2-hour shoot with me, or the cost of hiring a hotel. So everyone then splits my time and the cost of hiring the room in the hotel and everything. So yeah, it's just a really good way. And lots of clients, they will use it as like the stepping stone, the first thing they do. But I also have a lot of clients that just have one of those a year just to get refreshed images rather than having the full shoot. And either way work. But yeah, also I think people are always amazed, like you were, how much I can do in 25 minutes. So many people say, well, 25 minutes isn't enough. Like, I need 2 hours. It's like, you will be very surprised. I work really quick. I think it's because I started in family photography. So I was so used to dealing with toddlers and dads who don't want to be there, that I work really fast. And I also know when I've been in front of the camera, I don't want to be in front of the camera longer than I need to. So I just work quickly. We're on to the next spot. And then normally by the end of the 25 minutes, people are like, oh, are we done? Because that was it.
Yeah.
And then they're amazed when they see the gallery and see how much we got.
Yeah, it's shocking what you can do. So I'm really excited to be going to your retreat soon in
Yes.
Spain. And I've also booked a longer branding shoot. So I'm really, really excited. But I know that one is fully booked as far as I'm aware, the Spain
Yes.
one. But you have another retreat in the UK in a beautiful venue I'm actually going to in June already for a retreat, Florence House. I go every year to a yoga retreat at Florence House. But I know you have your retreat at Florence House. Is it September?
Yes, September. Yeah.
So do share more?
Yeah. So I've run my visibility retreat. This will be the sixth time I've run it, with the one that I'm running in Spain. And so it's a 3-day retreat where I help people show up with more confidence in their business. Everyone gets a mini branding shoot with me. So you've upgraded, so we can do a longer shoot in stitches, which is going to be really exciting. And so I have workshops and the shoot, but also I believe that business is holistic. Like, if we feel rubbish in ourselves, we're not going to feel like showing up in our businesses. So when I designed the retreat, I knew that I didn't want it to just be like 3 days just sat in a room and that was it. So we do everything else that makes you feel amazing, like nourishing homemade food, not by me, may I add. That would not be good if I was cooking it. And we do cliff walks and yoga and breathwork sessions and massages and chats by the fire. So all these things that make us feel amazing. So yes, I've got a few spaces left for my September retreat. And I'm very excited about you being there next month in Spain. Exciting.
Me too, me too. And yeah, Florence House is beautiful. So I love that you're also doing the mini branding photo shoot there,
Yeah.
as well as all the other amazing things. Like you said, there's a fire pit. The massage lady is to die for. I would practically drive 2 hours just to have a massage with her.
I still haven't had because I'm always hosting it. So everyone always raves if it's the same lady you have. She's meant to be incredible.
Yeah, she is totally. So I would highly recommend checking out Vicki's retreat, especially because the mini branding photo shoot is included too. So it sounds like a dream. I cannot wait for my experience next month. So thank you so, so much, Vicki. Any parting words to share with listeners?
Well, the one thing I always say at the end of my podcast is showing up is not showing off. And it's my own kind of words that I tell myself all the time. Like we touched on it, didn't we? That I think as women, especially, we worry that people are going to think we're arrogant and that can put us off. So I always say to myself, showing up is not showing off. So those would be my parting words, I think.
Love it.
Can I just say, Jo, just at the end, thank you for everything that you do. You inspire so many people. And you're also one of my very favourite clients because you've sent so much business my way for my photo shoot. So I'm very appreciative, but I'm very grateful to have you in my world. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so, so much. Well, I can't help but refer you because you're too good not to.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you've done such amazing work with my clients that therefore it actually helps me because I obviously help them market their business. So for them to have that photo shoot is such a huge boost for their business as well. So yeah, we're a perfect team.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. I hope you loved today's conversation as much as I did. I don't think we mentioned exactly where Vicki's retreat is. It's Florence House in Sussex. It's by the sea. It's totally beautiful. So if you are interested in checking it out, I will share the details in the show notes. And like I say at the end of every episode, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Women in the Coaching Arena. I have a mass of free resources on my website, joannalottcoaching.com. That's Joanna with an A and Lott with 2 T's, joannalottcoaching.com. And I'll also put links in the show notes below. Let me know if you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and leave me a review, and I will personally thank you for that. Remember to trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Get into the arena, dare greatly, and try.